Hello, my name is Diane Boivin. I'm the director and founder of the Center for Study and Treatment of Circadian Rhythms at the Douglas Mental Health University Institute, affiliated with McGill University. I was asked today to discuss the importance of light and darkness exposure for night shift workers. So first, it's important to talk about circadian rhythms, what they are exactly. So circadian rhythms are rhythms of about 24 hours, and they're controlled by an endogenous circadian clock, which internal day lengths are a little different from 24 hours. In most of us, they're a little longer than 24 hours. And so our body every day will extract signals from the environment to adjust our internal day length to those of the environment. And above all synchronizer, the most important is the exposure to light and darkness. So what happens when a worker has to work night shifts or has to work on rotating shifts? This worker will then has to perform at times when his body would rather sleep and has to attempt to sleep at times when it's difficult to do so. As a result, the worker will suffer from symptoms of jet lag. So he will be asked to sleep and get up at different internal time zones, and we know that this will affect the quality and duration of his sleep or her sleep and performance level at night, thus raising safety issues and increasing the risk of incident and accident. So we did a series of intervention studies in the field with nurses working permanent night shifts and police officers on patrol working rotating shifts. What we observe is that if we manipulate the exposure to light and darkness to which a nurse is exposing herself and trying to make the system believe it's day when it's night and it's night when it's day, we can perfectly adjust the circadian system to the shifted sleep schedule. So that's what we did with nurses in Montreal. We exposed them to bright light with phototherapy lamps during the first 6 hours of their shift. We asked them to wear goggles on their commute back home, and we asked them to maintain regular sleep and darkness schedule during the daytime. What we saw is that their circadian system would then be shifted to Asia and thus would regain a phase relationship that is perfectly the same as when they're living on a day-oriented schedule. As a result, they were sleeping much better, much longer during the day than control nurse not exposed to this intervention, and they were performing better. Now when we attempted to do a similar study with police officers on patrol in their car, but working rotating shift, we had more obstacles to overcome. Namely, we realized that police officers would not like to expose themselves to light as much as we would recommend to them, and there's a variety of reasons for that. And they also would how can I say, in their schedule, they would then work a series of 7 shifts at night in a row, and some of the officers would adjust without the intervention. Nevertheless, the adjustment was greater in those who used the intervention, and we think it's probably because they wore those goggles and they maintained regular daytime schedule during the day. We observe in the intervention group much more stable performance level at night and overall faster rate of adaptation of their circadian clock to working a series of night shifts. When we look at all of these studies, we can understand that the decision or not to try to shift the circadian system to match the night schedule really depends on what type of schedule we're dealing with and what type of work environment we're dealing with. It's not always recommended to try to shift the circadian system. So there are pros and there are cons of manipulating the light and darkness exposure in shift workers. In terms of light at night, we know that it is efficient to shift the rhythm and can induce significant improvement if on a given shift. However, it also reduces the secretion of melatonin at night, and it makes it more difficult to readjust to day-oriented schedules on the day off. So all of these issues have to be considered before suggesting or not to manipulate the light-dark environment for night shift workers. Other countermeasures can be looked at, for instance, preventive naps or recuperative naps during the night shift when vigilance is too low, education with the family about how important recuperation from night shift is, and try to limit as much as possible the number of consecutive night shifts. So thank you. I hope these advice will help a lot of night shift workers, and the question is still open.